What if the Great Depression never happened? So, without the Great Depression, the USA and the world would have avoided a massive economy collapse. Though the federal government would have remained much smaller, major New Deal safety nets would have probably not existed, and global history, including World War II politics, would have looked extremely different. No New Deal programs. Programs like Social Security, the FDIC, bank deposit insurance, and the SEC stock market regulation would not have been created in the 1950s, even a much weaker federal safety net. Different path to World War II. Many historians note that the economy ruined in Europe, especially Germany, helped out of Hitler rise to power. Without the Depression, World War II might have been avoided or happened differently. Delayed social changes. Labor laws, minimum wage standards, and powerful unions took sharply, delaying the 1950s crisis. Without it, workers' rights movements would have fallen a slower, purely market-driven path. 1932 U.S.A. election, Hoover vs Roosevelt Gardner. Can Hoover win a second term with no Great Depression? FDR is still able to put on a great campaign and still wins the election. 1936 U.S.A. election, Landon Curtis vs Roosevelt Gardner. Franklin D. Roosevelt is re-elected in 1936. In 1939, World War II breaks out, and many Americans want to stay independent and not get involved in the rise of Hitler and Stalin across the world. Roosevelt's vice president, John Adams, secures the Democratic nomination. Well, the Republicans go with Thomas E. Dewey. 1940 USA election, Gardner Foley vs Dewey Taft. Thomas Dewey wins the election, and just like in real life, Pearl Harbor still happens in 1941. 1944 USA election, Dewey Taft vs Wallace Truman. Thomas Dewey still wins. He's able to win re-election in 1944. Dewey passes legislation to weaken labor unions and stabilize farm crop prices. And just like in real life, still drops the atomic bombs to end World War II. In 1948, NATO has been created. 1948 USA election, Truman Barney vs Taft and Nixon. Harry S. Truman wins in 1948 in a shocking upset. In 1952, after an unpopular Truman presidency, Truman dropped out, as his presidency pretty much goes the same as in real life, with the Korean War and him firing General Douglas MacArthur in 1951. 1952 USA election, Eisenhower Nixon vs Truman vs Stevenson Kefauver. Dwight Eisenhower is able to win in 1952. Eisenhower would withdraw the troops from Korea. But however, By the summer of 1954, 5 U.S.A. U.S.A. troops were still trapped in Korea, but Eisenhower was able to withdraw the rest. 1956 U.S.A. election. Eisenhower-Nixon vs. JFK Humphrey. Eisenhower wins re-election against JFK with 329 electoral votes. Eisenhower has a really good term, better than his real-life second term. In 1960, Richard Nixon gets the Republican nomination. Campaign on continuing Eisenhower's legacy, a strong foreign policy, and a strong economy. While LBJ gets the Democratic nomination. Also campaigning on a strong foreign policy and more tax cuts and more civil rights. 1960 U.S.A. election, Nixon Lodge Jr. vs. LBJ Muskie. LBJ is able to win 1960 thanks to his good campaign on more civil rights to protect blacks. In 1961, the Bale of Pigs invasion still happens, but it goes much better than in real life. Just like with JFK, LBJ would have similar views in this talent and call himself more hawkish when it comes to dealing with foreign communists. He still signs the Civil Rights Act of 1964. 1964 U.S.A. election, LBJ Muskie vs. Goldwater Miller. LBJ is re-elected in 1964. The Gulf of Tonkin incident happened in 1966 in this alternate timeline, and the Vietnam War suddenly breaks out. 1968 U.S.A. election, Reagan-Romney vs. Muskie-Humphrey. Ronald Reagan wins the election. As due to LBJ's extreme unpopularity with the Vietnam War and Reagan a landslide victory, Reagan has a good term, protecting taillights and passing more civil rights. In 1972, the Democrats nominated George Wallace, who was considered as a bad decision. George Wallace hates blacks, and which is why that only the South likes him. 1972 U.S.A. election, Wallace-Shriver vs. Reagan-Romney. Ronald Reagan wins, even winning D.C. As there's no way D.C. would have voted for someone like George Wallace. Anyway, Reagan has a good term, but heading into 1976, the Democrats built a coalition. The Democrats choose Jimmy Carter to lead the coalition, while Republicans go with George Romney. George Romney campaigned on lowering taxes, passing more civil rights, and continuing on Reagan's legacy as president. 1976 U.S.A. election, Carter Mondale vs. Romney Connolly Jr. Jimmy Carter wins with 275 electoral votes and has a good term, using the labor unions built around the coalition. And his military is seen as a good success. Outside that, Carter has a horrible foreign policy, which hurt the U.S.A. growth as a nation. And things get even worse for the USA when the Iran hostage crisis and the Operation Eagle Clause happens. 1980 USA election. Connolly Jr. Bush vs. Mondale Florida. After John Connolly Jr.'s big landslide win, he would pass policies like tax increase on the wealthy, spending tax cuts, and his economy policy led to deflect decreasing and led to a massive economy boost and job growth. 1984 USA election. Connolly Jr. Bush vs. Jackson Clinton. John Connolly Jr. is re-elected in 1984 thanks to his popular presidency. 1988 USA election. Dukakis Spencer vs. Dorr Kemp. Bob Dorr wins in 1988. 1992 USA election. Dorr Kemp vs. Dukakis Spencer. Again, Michael S. Dukakis wins the election of 1992. 1996 USA election. Dorr Robertson vs. Dukakis Dorr. Bob Dorr is re-elected in 1996, becoming the first president since Grover Cleveland to win 2 non-consecutive terms. Heading into the 2000s, the Republicans faced the problem of voter frauds, and all across the 1990s, they dominated. 2000 USA election. Gore Lieberman vs. McCain-Giuliani. In the first few months of Gore's presidency, he would lower taxes, and aside from foreign policy, he would protect the environment and have a lot of labor unions and liberal values and reforms, and get a lot of health care done. 9/11 still happens, and Al Gore has a very good response to it. In 2004, George W. Bush is the Republican nominee, and he chooses Dick Cheney. But George W. Bush has a hard time connecting with Western and suburban voters, as Al Gore has already proved his time when he was the senator from Tennessee that he can get the policies done. W. Bush's views are very lackluster, and he makes ideological views at the center of everything. 2004 U.S. election. Gore Lieberman vs. W. Bush Cheney. Al Gore is re-elected with 365 electoral votes. But has a horrible term with the 2008 Great Recession. It cost tens of thousands of USA lives. In 2008, Barack Obama decides to run for president as a Republican, but after working with George W. Bush on his 2004 campaign, and with no George W. Bush from being president, there's nothing at all to stop Obama from aligning himself with the Republicans. Democrats nominate Joe Biden in 2008, and he nominates Chris Dodd. 2008 USA election. Biden-Dodd vs. Obama-Paul. Barack Obama wins the election easily. In 2012, Obama is running for re-election, but Rand Paul is forced out of the vice presidential ticket due to his age. So Obama would then pick Chris Cruz. In 2012, the Democrats decide on nominating Hillary Clinton, and she runs a campaign on clean energy, supporting women's rights, and universal health care. That same year, after Mitt Romney lost the Republican nomination to Obama, Romney decides to run as a Republican. Romney and Obama don't like each other. And with Romney taking many votes from Obama, Hillary Clinton is projected to win at 300 plus electoral votes if Romney gets half of Obama's votes. Nevertheless, with 2008 Great Recession coming to a close, Obama is widely popular. 2012 U.S.A. election. Obama Christie vs. Clinton, Kane vs. Romney, Ryan. Barack Obama wins re-election, but Hillary Clinton could have easily won this one. But she took the advantage of the Romney-Obama situation, as Obama was re-elected with 375 electoral votes. During Obama's second term, sees massive economy growth, but he struggles to control inflation, and it skyrockets right after the 2014 midterms. In 2016, the Republicans nominate Donald Trump, while the Democrats go with Bernie Sanders. But Trump only won the Republican nomination because of Obama's influence at the party, so he's not really a strong candidate at this time. 2016 U.S.A. election, Trump-Pence vs. Sanders-Kane. During the night, Trump secured the Rust Belt states and was easily the favorite to win throughout the entire night. But then came a shock. Bernie Sanders unexpectedly won Texas and Georgia, which gave him the last state he needed for a victory, with 300 electoral votes. In Sanders' first term, we see him rising the minimum wage and his Medicare for All policy, but the most controversial thing of his term was his nationwide ban of fracking. 2020 doesn't look that good for the Democrats because of the 2018 midterms that caused a freaking gas spikes. 2020 U.S.A. election, Cruz Rubio vs. Sanders-Kane. Bernie Sanders wins re-election with 375 electoral votes, as he has a good term with handling the MLB movement and COVID, as it both went greatly. 2024 U.S.A. election, Rubio Kasich vs. Kane Harris. Marco Rubio wins in 2024. The reason why Rubio won was because many people criticized Sanders' age, and many people didn't really like how Sanders was handling the Gaza war. In Rubio's first term, he would finally withdraw the troops from Afghanistan. But then, however, America is once again under attack from ISIS, and Rubio was criticized for not destroying it completely, and Rubio becomes extremely unpopular. In 2027, Rubio announces that he is not running for re-election due to his unpopularity. 2028 U.S.A. election. Kasich Cruz vs. Harris Wars. Thanks to Rubio's unpopularity with the poor handling of ISIS, Kamala Harris was able to win. And so far, Kamala Harris has a great term by passing legislation. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this video. Please subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the next video.